It's a new era in UC basketball as the Bearcats return to the Clifton campus. UC fans are confident this homecoming will bring the Cats the same advantage they held at Old Armory Fieldhouse. UC won 90% of its games there in 22 seasons, including a 72-game winning streak. At the time, the longest in the nation. Tonight, the UC Loyal return to Clifton for the first time in 13 years as they christen the 13,500-seat Merle Shoemaker Center. To baptize their new home, a new coach, Bob Huggins, who won 70% of his games in 8 years at Akron. But with all that glitters, there is some old. The familiar faces of Lou Banks, Keith Starks, Andre Tate, and Lavertus Robinson. This quartet played a lot last season. From the Shoemaker Center on the UC campus, the Cincinnati Bearcats host the Golden Gophers of Minnesota.
University of Cincinnati Bearcat Basketball is brought to you in part by Miller High Life. By that man, a Miller, the best comes shining through. And by Kroger, the home of cost-cutter low prices. And by Still Pass. We know you can't beat that.
Check it out, round ball fans. The Tri-State's premier full-service basketball facility. It's the $32 million Merle Shoemaker Center. And we're so proud and happy to be a part of Bearcat basketball once again. The season of 89-90. It's a new deal, new coach, new center, and we hope the beginning of a great successful run for your Bearcats. Hi, everybody. I'm Tom Kelly, and I'm very happy to be back with you on 19XIX to provide some wraparounds, commentaries on what happens here during this winter of basketball. And on this rather drizzly and dreary Saturday for the Thanksgiving weekend, we hope you'll sit back, relax, and enjoy basketball here tonight. What about the facility here on the campus of the University of Cincinnati? Well, it seats 13,500 full boat, 16 private suites available here for some of the luxurious Bearcat basketball fans. And of course, later on, there'll be a full-service restaurant and lounge area. Restaurateur Ben Bernstein will be in charge of that. That'll be another showcase, a showplace of Bearcat basketball here on the campus. We aren't really sure what's going to happen this year, but we are sure of one thing. There'll be great excitement. There'll be great intensity. The players will play hard. And two guys that have been playing hard and enter their fourth year of doing just that, set to join me right now. Let's go courtside for Rhett Pitcher and Derek Dickey. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Tom, and it's good to be back on the campus of the University of Cincinnati. And for like the two of us, I guess a lot of fans have grown up watching Cincinnati basketball when the Bearcats were at Armory Fieldhouse.
Oh, there's no question about it, Red. That's where I grew up. I grew up watching Oscar and Tom Thacker and some of those old-time basketball players, and it was always fun to come here on campus and watch that and get the student body behind us.
Not only do you build up that home court advantage, but it is really home. You just walk a few steps and you're out of your dorm and right into the Shoemaker Center.
Oh, there's no question about it, because now the students can actually walk across campus, as you said, instead of having to plan their day, catch a bus, go downtown, or go out to the Gardens and watch a basketball game. This is now the sixth man that Cincinnati has been needing for several years.
And it's going to get loud here tonight, folks, just like it was at Armory Fieldhouse, like it was at the Gardens when the Bearcats played there. A true home court advantage, like some other universities just down the road have, Tom.
Yeah, Red, there's no question. There are three schools very close to Cincinnati: Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio State. Over the years, great buildings and great home court advantage just because of the simple fact that their fans are really into it. And Derek, you certainly know what that can mean to a player.
Oh, without a doubt. If you go to a place like a Rupp Arena, Tom, you're going to find that that is in itself is an intimidating factor. You go down there, it actually gives the home team a 10 or 15-point advantage just walking into the building.
We'll come back and have more pregame festivities, then we'll get the ball in the air. The Bearcats against Big Ten powerhouse Minnesota on 19XIX. We're right here tonight. Stay with us. Tremendous electricity here in the building tonight as everybody is has waited for this moment for months, really years, since the inception, the idea of the Shoemaker Center, and now we're here ready to put it in the air against the Big Ten powerhouse Minnesota. The key that I'm wondering about, how will the Bearcat players react? Will they be nervous, and how are they going to react to their first real test with Huggins on the bench, particularly those 4 returning lettermen from last year, guys who were so important in this team over the years before Bob Huggins showed up. Well, that's just one of the many things we'll be watching for here as the Bearcats and Minnesota get it on. Now let's go courtside and get the opening lineups from Tom Talmadge.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Shoemaker Center on the campus of the University of Cincinnati, the home of the Bearcats. Tonight, the Bearcats play host to the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. Here are the starting lineups. First, for the University of Minnesota. Starting at forward, standing 6'6", a senior from Aurora, North Carolina, wearing number 33, Richard Coffey. At forward, 6'5", a junior from Chicago, Illinois, wearing number 40, Walter Bond. At center, at 6'9", a senior from Rockton, Illinois, wearing number 45, Jim Chickenjansky. At guard, standing 6'6", a junior from Bloomington, Minnesota, wearing number 3, Kevin Lynch. And at the other guard, standing 6'4", a senior from Toledo, Ohio, wearing number 20, Kevin Newbern.
All right, is everybody ready to roll out the red carpet for the Cats?
And now for the Bearcats of the University of Cincinnati, standing 6'5", a junior from Chicago, Illinois, number 20, Lavertus Robinson. Also at forward, standing 6'5", a junior from Camden, New Jersey, wearing number 25, Lewis Banks. He's 6 feet 7 inches tall, a junior from Cincinnati, Ohio, wearing number 42, Keith Starks. At 6 feet 2 inches, he's a senior from East Cleveland, Ohio, wearing number 32, Steve Sanders. And at 6'5", a senior from Chicago, Illinois, a guard wearing number 4, Andre Tate.
Well, here we go from the Clifton campus for the first time in 13 years. Cincinnati will play basketball right on campus. The Bearcats have won 32 straight home openers. The last time they lost was against St. Louis back in the 56-57 season. The Bearcats have always played well in home openers. That man right there has also done a good job at Akron, as Tom pointed out. And the guy from Minnesota, Clem Haskins, has done a pretty good job with those Golden Gophers.
Oh, without it is going to be a fun atmosphere. I don't know if the fans at home can actually hear the pounding that the stands are now vibrating with all this enthusiasm and energy, but it's really going to help the Bearcats. And you know, I spoke earlier about that 6th man now being present in the lineup, and the Bearcats are only going to get better and better.
Bob Huggins, 4 straight 20-win seasons with Akron. As you see, the Golden Gophers already out there in their maroon and gold uniforms. Cincinnati will come out in a little bit of a different attire this year, Derek.
It looks great to me, Red. They're coming out with new uniforms and, you know, now have their names on the back with bright colors, and it's just an exciting atmosphere. I wish it had been this way when I was here.
They got that growling cat now on the side of their trousers, too. And a premature jump. I think the Cats are ceremonial tip.
Absolutely.
But the Cats are looking like they're ready to get up right now. There is the wife of Merle Shoemaker, whom the center has been named after. He was a veteran of the Ohio legislature for so many years and responsible for a lot of the state dollars that came for the construction of the Shoemaker Center. Cost $32 million to erect this building, and a lot of folks were responsible, including that woman's late husband, Merle Shoemaker, in the Ohio House of Representatives.
Red, I'll bet a lot of people didn't realize that the money was actually set aside, or the allocation was set aside when I was in school back in the early 70s.
That's a long time ago. Here we go, and the Golden Gophers, one of the better rebounding teams in the Big Ten, control the tap. Shikenjanski against Robinson, and there's Shikenjanski on the right wing in front of the UC bench. This is Walt Bond getting a start, and Lou Banks will foul him. I'm interested in seeing the tempo for the Bearcats. They have to have butterflies.
Oh, there's no question about it. They're coming out at a new facility with a new coach and not so much a new starting lineup. They have one new player in the lineup this evening, but I think they're going to be riding a little high. It wouldn't surprise me if you see a couple of their early shots come off the basket from hitting the back of the rim or the backboard, because they're going to be pumped up quite a bit.
Here's Shikenjanski. He'll dribble drive and take the shot and roll it around and out, and a charge will be called on Shikenjanski. Nice work by Keith Starks.
It's a great play by Keith Starks, and you know, I don't know if Minnesota did their homework in a scouting report, but Keith likes to take a lot of charges, and you know, hopefully he's got a little bit of cushion back there behind him, but he's going to be on the floor quite a bit and maybe get himself back in and hopefully get a few rebounds that the Bearcats are going to be needing.
A change for Minnesota. Willie Burton, who is their impact player, their big-time player, averaged 18 points a game last year as Tate has it knocked away, but Starks gets it back. Isn't starting the game, but should see action later. Tate misses, and Minnesota clears. Newbern, he'll run the break to Lynch, back to Coffey, and he'll roll it off. No, but the tap is good.
That's a nice pass. Minnesota likes to run, as I said, a control break. If they get the opportunity, they'll force it up the court, and that time they passed it under and came back out for a nice little 10-foot jump shot. But Cincinnati has to, as I said in the open, block out and get the ball off the boards as opposed to taking it out of the basket.
Cincinnati runs a motion offense this year, a little different from the previous era with Tony Yates.
Huggins calls that a five-man open post, where it's what we used to call an old passing game type of an offense, Red, where everybody's moving, nobody's actually stationary in the middle, and they all get a chance to touch the basketball.
Albertus goes way up to touch it, bring it back and stick it. No, doesn't go in, bounces off and out, and it's Minnesota's ball. So we have played a minute and a half in the newer Shoemaker Center, and that man's team has yet to score. It's 2-0 Minnesota.
Red, that's exactly what I was talking about. You saw the first shot go up. It was a little hard because the adrenaline is flowing, and they're trying to aim the ball as opposed to just shooting it as they normally would in a practice session.
This guy's a load, Melvin Newbern, 6'4", 200-pounder. He gets it back from Coffey and into Shikenjanski, and you see why Minnesota made it to the Sweet 16 last year in the NCAA. A very patient offense. They like to pack it inside.
Excellent ball movement by Newbern that time. He went up for the shot, and all the UC players turned their heads, and he looked inside to Shikenjanski, and he was able to lay the ball in the basket with no trouble at all.
Lou Banks averaged 17 points a game over his final 8 games last season. To Starks, look at the big guy go, and there's your first bucket in the Shoemaker Center.
Excellent ball movement by the Bearcats. They were able to get it to Starks at the top of the key, and he took a couple of dribbles and took it to the hole pretty strong and maintained his body control and able to get the first basket here at Merle Shoemaker Center. There he goes in, keeping his control. Nice move.
Comes with 17:57 left to go in the first half. Minnesota leads 4-2, and Starks is at the line. And he gets the nice roll.
The Bearcats are coming back in a man-to-man defense, Red, and I think we're just going to, you know, sort of watch the first half and see how the transition goes and see if they can actually stay with the Gophers. And if they can, I think we're going to see them stay in this the rest of the game, but if they can't, we're going to see him probably go back into his zone.
Coffey fouled underneath by Lavertus Robinson. One thing for the Bearcats as we watch this again is they're going to have to control this inside game. Minnesota's getting some easy shots.
There's no question about it. All the Big Ten schools, and Minnesota is no exception, they like to get the ball underneath and just pound the offensive boards. If the ball goes up, you know, they're up there playing volleyball above the rim, and, you know, we're going to see that in the Gophers team.
This guy took a circuitous route to the University of Minnesota after high school out of Aurora, North Carolina. Richard Coffey went airborne. Now he'll go airborne again tonight too. He kept those wings after getting out of the 101st Airborne. He's a great leaper. Misses both throws, and Starks rips it off.
Well, the Bearcats got a chance to gain some momentum, and I think if we hear them get their first lead in this game, you're going to hear the stands erupt and the fans go up on their feet, and that's what we need here at home. We need to feel the adrenaline flowing inside this building.
4-3 Minnesota. We've played about 3 minutes. Glad to have you with us. Red pitcher Derek Dickey, Tom Kelly, our 19 XIX crew, and there is the lead. As Andre Tate, a penetrating guard, 6'4", out of Chicago, gives the Cats the lead.
Tate is at his best, Red. You know, we've seen him move in the past, and if the ball goes up on the boards, you know, we're going to see him even crashing the offensive boards. That time Minnesota came down in pretty much a controlled type break situation again. Got the ball off the boards, and UC needs to get those rebounds as opposed to taking it out of the basket.
You made an interesting point before about a man-to-man as they really pick and screen for Kevin Lynch for an easy crib underneath to give Minnesota the lead again. If Cincinnati plays man-to-man, that's a much more tiring defense, and the Cats just don't have the depth right now, perhaps, to be able to do that with a team like Minnesota.
There's no question about it. Minnesota is not only big, but they're physical, and over the course of a 40-minute basketball game, it's going to wear them down. So, you know, if they play them tight man-to-man, which is what the Bearcats are going to be doing.
There is Robinson for the turnaround, and Levertis has his first field goal, and Cincinnati now is up 7-6.
That's one of the things that I'm really encouraged about with Bob Huggins and this open post five-man offense is that the players are allowed to freelance, and they get open in the key just like Levertis did, and that time he was able to knock down that 11-foot shot.
There was a good matchup right there that you can focus on, friends, in your living room or wherever you may be. Melvin Newbern and Andre Tate. That's a key matchup for Cincinnati.
It sure will be, and Andre's going to have to be patient because there's not too many players on the bench, as you just pointed out, to be able to back him up and come in and help out if they get in foul trouble.
Newbern took him to the hole there for a nice runner, and it's Minnesota up by 1, 8-7, 16 minutes, 10 seconds to go in the first half. Glad you're with us. Hardwood floor here at the Shoemaker Center. Andre Tate dribbling the leather on it.
Red, a lot of people really are not aware of what experience can do for you. You know, you hear that a veteran player can do a little bit more, like Keith Starks now. A veteran player can do a little bit more than a sophomore or freshman, and that's exactly what's going to happen. If they get the ball in a good situation, they're going to take advantage of that.
We've only played 4 and change, and we've had 5 lead changes. Schick and Jansky along the baseline, and there's a foul on Cincinnati.
I think that may be Keith Stark's second foul, Red. I'm hoping he can be patient and stay in the ball game, because if he does get in foul trouble, the Bearcats are going to be in trouble.
Cincinnati and Minnesota going at it in the lid lifter of the Shoemaker Center here on the campus of Cincinnati. 9-8 Bearcats. Cincinnati has the lead 9-8 as you peer into the Bob Huggins huddle, and that man to Bob Huggins' right and to your left is Chuck Maychuk, a former Cincinnati player here and former head coach at Central Florida. Derek, there's been 5 lead changes, Cincinnati and Minnesota both shooting 4 for 7.
Well, I think it's a good percentage to start off the ball game with. As I said, I thought UC is going to come out and they'll probably shoot somewhere in the low 30s or, you know, maybe 40%, but this is a good sign because they're coming out hungry, their adrenaline's high, and if they can continue to get some of those rebounds as opposed to taking the ball out of the basket, they can stay right with Minnesota.
We mentioned Chuck Maychuk on the staff of Bob Huggins, also Steve Moeller, Larry Harrison, John Lawyer, all on the UC staff this season. This is Walter Bond out of Chicago, and he dribble drives to the baseline and shoots and scores, and Minnesota's back up by 1.
It's a nice move that time by Bond. He went to the baseline and he saw the UC defenders come over and try to cut him off and was able to pull up for that shot.
Earlier we mentioned Willie Burton, 18 points and about 9 rebounds a game last season. He's on the bench. He's had some problems with an ankle, some broken bones. He is a real good player, and that has to affect Minnesota.
Oh, he's a prime-time player from what I understand. I talked to a scout for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Jim Brewer, an old friend of mine, and he seemed to think that without a doubt Burton can play in the NBA.
But to be able to come off the bench with Walt Bond, a player who at 6'5", 220 averaged 6 points a game last year, is been very helpful for Clem Haskins, the Western Kentucky grad. 14 seconds left on the shot clock as Cincinnati trails by 1. Here's Tate. Sanders, the old footballer, a walk-on. Long J by Robinson doesn't go. The stick back is there by Starks.
Good rebound by Keith Starks. He went straight up after he got that rebound and knocked it back home. But the Bearcats, Andre Tate especially, is going to have to shoot that ball from the outside to establish that outside game. We know that the Bearcats are strong inside. There's no question about that. But they got to establish the outside three-point shots.
Walt Bond charges as Cincinnati set that up very nicely. Bond used the same move that he had scored on the previous trip.
He sure did. And Keith Starks, as I said, likes to take charges. He's going to be on the floor quite a bit. And, you know, it's going to be up to Lavertus and Lewis Banks to get the rebounds. But Keith is going to be in there. He's going to throw his body around. Willie Burton just checked into the game. He's that primetime player we've been talking about. Clem Haskins, Red, said that he's just a little out of condition. That's why he's coming off the bench right now.
Robinson trying to triangle against that Minnesota zone that they set up on that possession, and the Bearcats have their longest lead as they go up 13-10.
That is exactly what the Bearcats need. Sanders or Tate to knock down that outside jump shot, which is just going to open up the middle because Minnesota's back in a zone right now.
That man right there, Steve Sanders, you know, you look at what kinds of stats you're going to put on your score sheet to tell the folks about before the game. Here's what I have for Steve Sanders. 47 catches, 806 yards, and 7 touchdowns.
How do you equate that to a basketball game, Red?
I told Andre before the game we'll see how he throws the lob lead to him, and we'll make the judgment from there.
That's what makes a difference.
Nice save. Let's see Sanders run the break to Andre. He'll lay it up, won't get it. And there will be a blocking foul on the Minnesota Golden Gophers, Melvin Newbern.
It was a good break that time. Cincinnati had an opportunity, a 3-on-1. The ball actually needed to come back into the center of the floor. Sanders dishes it left, and Tate goes in for the layup.
And a little extracurricular activity afterwards as Keith Starks has been separated from a Golden Gopher underneath the Cincinnati hoop.
Tate catches the defender moving that time, and he was able to draw the foul. That's why he threw the ball up over his head, so he's going to get 2 foul shots. And you mentioned a little extracurricular activity. It's only as a result of all the adrenaline here. Nobody wants to get hurt out there on the floor.
That guy right there spent 9 years in the NBA, Clem Haskins. He guided Western Kentucky to the NCAA. He guided Minnesota back to prominence in the Big Ten.
Clem is an outstanding educator as well as a basketball coach, and he's done a great job with not only recruiting for the University of Minnesota, he's also put a lot of kids out as far as graduation is concerned.
Andre Tate too hard off the heel. Andre should have been in the clinic when Al McGuire was here yesterday. Don't hit off the heel. Don't hit off the heel. The heel does not give.
Absolutely not. Cassie Russell told me how to do that when I was playing with the Warriors. If you keep the ball on your fingertips, you have control. The palm of your hand and your heel, you have no control over holding that basketball.
Andre had control of that one out of 2, and he gives Cincinnati a 4-point lead at 14-10 with 13:35 left to play here in the first half. Kevin Lynch, good shooter, averaged 16 in the NCAA tournament last season. And diving for it is Keith Starks, and out of bounds to Minnesota. A lot of hustle being displayed by this Cincinnati Bearcat team in those new uniforms.
That's right, no question about it. Starks, as I said, is going to be on the floor throwing his body around, and as I said, Red, the Bearcats have now gone into a zone. They're trying to match up and hopefully make Minnesota shoot those outside shots, which they're really not noted for. They have a strong inside game, but they're not known for shooting the ball outside.
Bond with a wraparound pass inside for Burton, knocked away by Starks. Robinson, and now Sanders will run the bank. Back for Andre Tate. Looks inside, cut off by Newbern. Banks with the head fake. Banks down the lane. And he will go to the line for 2 as Lou Banks penetrates and draws the infraction off Willie Burton.
Lou Banks has been very quiet so far in the early stages of this basketball game. We're 7 minutes into it, and this is the first opportunity offensively that he's had. He took it to the basket and caught the defender moving and was able to get it up off the board.
Interesting how the game develops its own peculiar format as we watch Banks go down the lane and draw that foul. Lou Banks is regarded as the major scoring catalyst for the Bearcats. Willie Burton, his counterpart, and Banks just got the first point for both of them.
Right. We're going to see Lou Banks throughout the course of the year, even with this open post offense. He's going to be probably the man to lead the Bearcats in scoring as well as rebounding consistently night in and night out. And that's just the beginning of what he's going to do for this team this year and next year.
We've played 7 minutes, and Cincinnati has a 6-point lead. Here's Lynch with a tray, doesn't get it, and Starks claims it for the Bearcats. Dressed in white with red and black trim, and Andre Tate runs into Lynch, and that's a foul. Kevin Lynch was not claiming.
Well, as I said, Red, the Golden Gophers are not noted for shooting the ball from the outside, and that time they happened to get caught in a transition game, and they just didn't get back properly, and Tate took advantage of a moving defender, was able to get the ball down inside.
Steve Saunders has done a great job on Lynch on the defensive end. Lynch has scored only 2 points. That was off a pick and roll underneath, but he is a good outside shooter, their best pure shooter from the outside, and Saunders has been tailing him.
He is legitimately their three-point threat.
Melvin Newbern across the line, being picked up by Sanders now on a Bearcat switch. He misses, and Lou Banks claims, looks for the lob lead, but it's not open for Sanders, and so Andre Tate will work it up.
Well, the Bearcats are going to try to run a little bit more control with their offense, hopefully get everybody involved, get the outside game opened up, and work the ball inside, which is what they need to do.
Starks for the free throw line. The tap no good. Robinson goes up and gets it. Wants to power back, but he is double dribbling.
He had a good idea, but as most young players do, when he got the rebound, he put the ball on the floor, therefore forgetting about his first dribble and tried to take a second.
12:18 left to play in the first half. That's the first turnover for Cincinnati.
That is an amazing stat, because usually in a new facility, the first thing you look for is a lot of turnovers.
Out of bounds, last touched by Cincinnati. The Bearcats are getting their hands on the pumpkin. I mean, about every time down the floor, it seems that Cincinnati's knocking it away.
There's no question. I'm looking at Bob Huggins over on the sideline, Red, and he's got his guys pumped up, and they're playing good, solid basketball.
Traveling that time, 2 Bearcats, Sanders and Banks go for the basketball. Bob Huggins doesn't like the call, but the officials, and it's a split crew, calling traveling. Sam Licklider, Burl Sell, Rick Wolko calling tonight's game.
It was a good call, I think, Red, only because whenever you have 2 people on the same team, you know, even if you take just a half step, they consider that a full step because you got 2 people involved with that.
New player in the game is Lewis for Minnesota as Robinson knocks it away from Walt Bond, and Cincinnati will have the basketball.
That's that hustling defense that Bob Huggins is known for, and if the Bearcats can continue that, I think we're going to see an exciting basketball team this year.
Third straight traveling infraction on Cincinnati, though, as the Bearcat offensive possession goes awry, and Clem Haskins adjusts his tie and hopes to get a little bit closer with his Golden Gophers. Timeout on the floor with 11:41 left. The Bearcats up by 6. Clem Haskins is trying to get a little offense for his Minnesota Golden Gophers. They haven't scored in the last 4 minutes.
Cincinnati's on a 7-0 run, Red, and I think if they are a little more patient with their offense, you know, most people don't realize that 45 seconds is a long time to take a shot. You have an opportunity to pass the ball 6, 7, sometimes as many as 10 times, and I think that's what Coach Huggins likes to do. He likes to let everybody touch the basketball before a shot goes up.
Minnesota is just inserted its 8th player into the lineup, meaning they have gone to the bench for 3 subs. Willie Burton, Connell Lewis, number 15, and out of Apple Valley, Minnesota, Big Bob Martin. They just keep growing tall timber in Minnesota, don't they? Randy Brewer and Kevin McHale, and this guy right here, he's a 7-footer.
They have a history of having just extremely tall and talented players, and Minnesota, this year's team is no exception, and you know, if they can be patient in their conference this year, the Big Ten, they might do well. They might finish up there in the top 5.
Out of bounds to Minnesota. The insertion of Lewis into the lineup is part of the chess game. They just didn't have the quicks out there with Kevin Lynch, so they brought in the senior Connell Lewis, who's very quick, and see if he can do something in the offense for Clem Haskins and his Golden Gophers. He has an interesting assistant staff. Al Brown was the head coach at Ball State for a number of years, and Willie Burton takes the tray and makes it and draws Minnesota within 3. But also Silas McKinney is one of his assistants, and he's an old footballer. That's why I think every Big Ten team has an old football player as an assistant coach, huh?
Well, in the Big Ten, as you and I both know, it's a very physical conference, and you know, you look at Bobby Knight and Bobby coming from Army. You know, you're going to have physical basketball in the Big Ten, and without a doubt, if you get a football coach out there, you're going to have people that like to throw their body around.
Keith Starks throws his body around into Lavertus Robinson with it, in and out, and staying out as Burton and Coffey go for it, and Burton has it, clears ahead to Lewis. He has Newbern to his left, feeds Newbern for the lay, and a foul is called on Lavertus Robinson. So Newbern will go to the line for a deuce.
That was a good controlled fast break that Minnesota ran that time, and Lavertus got caught. He was up to try to block the shot, and he did not get his body out of the way, and that's where the foul occurred. There was a little bit of body contact, and the official standing right on top of the play.
Burl Sell, the official there, didn't look like there was much, though. That irritated Bob Huggins, who is now consulting with one of the officials.
Well, at home, you're going to expect to get a few of those calls going your way. And if you, as a player, establish yourself as being able to go up and block a couple of shots as the game progresses, sometimes you will get those calls in the later stages of the game, which I think is more important than not getting them early.
Newbern misses too hard. This guy, Melvin Newbern, at the line, set a Big Ten record with steals. That man right there is the all-time Western Kentucky Hilltopper leading scorer. Did a great job with Western Kentucky. Clem the Gym, they used to call it.
Clem Haskins played for the Washington Bullets, Red, the year that the Golden State Warriors beat them in the NBA championship. And then Clem and I go way, way back.
B.J. Ward into the game as Newbern misses the second one as well. Minnesota has not connected in 4 tries from 15 feet.
Well, the Bearcats have been stuck on 16 for a while. The Minnesota's dropped back into a zone and wanting the Bearcats to shoot from the outside, which is what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to take that outside shot, whether they make it or not, and establish that inside game.
B.J. Ward, a young man who is seeing his first action, a transfer from Laramie Community College, and Keith Starks gets a garbage basket off a takeaway.
That is exactly what the Bearcats have to do. They have to get lucky with some of those baskets, but they need to crash the offensive boards and hopefully be able to stick back some of those missed shots.
Willie Burton will try a tray, and he has his second three-pointer. Hey, this guy is 6'7", 210, but he'll knock it down from beyond 20.
He's got a nice touch, Red. He looks like a quality NBA player. I haven't seen exactly how physical he is, but he doesn't look like he's afraid to go inside and get some rebounds and knock it around.
Cincinnati out-rebounding Minnesota thus far, 12-6, and that's that quickness right now paying off for Cincinnati. Plus, Burton has not been in the lineup the entire game for Clem Haskins. Here's Starks, a little too hard, and Walt Bond clears and throws it away. Last touch by who? I believe the Golden Gophers.
Bearcats ball.
B.J. Ward's an interesting study. He was born in Cincinnati, graduated from high school in Milwaukee, and led the state of Wisconsin in rebounding his senior year. Went to 2 different junior colleges before coming here to play for Bob Huggins. There's a three-point try, no, by Lou Banks, and the rebound off to Minnesota. Both clubs even in turnovers at 4 as Newbern with a stutter step dribble drive misses. Ball is loose on the floor, and picking it up is Banks. He bangs right into Willie Burton, who doesn't get the call, and here's a steal by Minnesota's Coffey. Misses, and a foul. Nope. Ball knocked out of the hands of Orlando Williams, but it'll be Minnesota ball.
Looks like a Big Ten contest to me. It's his physical contest, bodies on the floor, and fast break basketball.
Orlando Williams, a junior out of Princeton High School in Cincinnati, has replaced Steve Saunders. And in it comes. The shot taken by Coffey off the inbound, no, and Cincinnati clears.
The last time down the floor, Minnesota took a shot. Keith Starks tried to take a charge, and that's why the Bearcats weren't able to control the rebounding boards.
There's B.J. Ward, 6'5" junior, gets his first basket as a Bearcat.
B.J. Ward was in an automobile accident not long ago and hurt his hand, and he missed several days of practice, and that's what Bob Huggins told us prior to the game, that what he's going to need to do is learn where he needs to be on the floor, and it's just a matter of time before he's able to come in and contribute to this solid basketball club.
Newbern on the baseline for Schick-Jansky, back in replacing Martin. Nice little move by Schick-Jansky, doesn't get it though, and Williams will run the break for Bob Huggins.
Orlando Williams is a good basketball player, Red, and I think it's just a matter of time before he sees some more action. He played here locally at Princeton High School, and to have some local flavor in the game. We got Keith Starks out there, but Orlando's going to be able to help this team, I think, quite a bit as the year progresses, because all he needs is a little bit of playing time to get that confidence up.
Andre Tate got some instructions from the Cincinnati bench. Feeds it right side to BJ. Across the 1-2-2 zone to Williams, back to Tate. 12 seconds on the shot clock. Cincinnati leads by 4.
That shot at the top of the key. Tate is going to have to look to take that. We're looking at 4 seconds. 3, 2,
Rebound on the floor, and Shikenjanski picks it up. They have the 10th of a second here, too.
They sure do. That's that NBA shot clock.
Another one of the features of the Bearcats scoreboard here. There's a charge on Willie Burton of Minnesota, who's getting a little frustrated because things just aren't working for him on the inside, and he charges that time after getting the offensive board. 7:09 left to play in the first half. First game ever at the Shoemaker Center, and Cincinnati has the first half lead. Cincinnati leads Minnesota 20-16. Third time these two teams have played, and watch Keith Starks get up.
Red, that's some of that garbage basketball. The ball just happened to be knocked loose and went right into Starks' hands. He gets Cincinnati's first jam at Merle Schumacher Center.
Minnesota out of the mighty Big Ten. Right there you see them. They are ranked anywhere from 17th to 27th by a variety of publications. The only one you told me about was Playboy, Darren.
Well, as you know, and I think most of our listeners know, that preseason predictions are nothing more than that. If we were able to bet on the stock market, I might bet long on a particular stock and you'll bet short, and that's where all these differentials of opinions come in.
Cincinnati field goal percentage 40%, and Minnesota 37%. As you see on our screen. And from the free throw line, the Golden Gophers have drawn zilch, zip for 4.
Well, the Bearcats, if they can have a good year, consistent year, concentrate on their foul shots and knock some of those down, I think that's going to keep them in a lot more ball games than they would have been under ordinary circumstances.
They shot 68% from the free throw line last year, and that wasn't as high as they would have liked. Here's Brady Hughes in the game, 6'6" youngster out of Garland, Texas. Banks inside for Tate.
Good ball movement, good patience, running that open post offense. It allowed Minnesota, who was in a man-to-man defense that time, to drop back and lose a little bit of coverage and get that easy layup for the Bearcats.
Kevin Lynch to the left of the key. That motion offense or open post offense. Bob Knight runs that passing game in the motion at Indiana. So I guess if Clem Haskins was going to do some scouting as Lynch scores to draw Minnesota within 4, he might take a look at some of those Indiana films too.
Oh, there's no question about it, because the open post offense, or as I call it, you and I call it, the passing game, it just creates all kind of open shots. And as long as you keep moving and be patient with that particular style of play, you're going to get layups all day and all night.
Ralph Miller at Oregon State really fashioned that as well. In the corner, this is Lou Banks, who's been relatively quiet. Banks averaged 13 last season, has 2 free throws tonight. Orlando Williams.
I think Brady Hughes is going to have to get involved. Brady is a good shooter. It's just a matter of moving the basketball and taking some of those shots.
Well, they are posting up right now. Andre Tate on Kevin Lynch. Tate is 6'4", Lynch 6'3". They're getting the matchup on the blocks.
They sure are. Andre Tate has led the Bearcats in scoring in all the preseason games they've had so far this year, including the scrimmages. And he's going to be another one. He and Lou Banks, they're going to be the two, I think, that the Bearcats are going to look to in the clutch to lead this team in scoring.
Burton for Shikenjanski in the corner, out high now to Lynch. Good passing game by Minnesota right now. Lynch gets it back, kicks it for Bond. This is Shikenjanski, and he's got it.
Shikenjanski is a good, solid player, Red. He's big, he's active, and he gets inside and moves the basketball, and he just took a nice, soft 15-foot jump shot there that, he looked like a forward.
Andre Tate working against Kevin Lynch. With Newbern out of the lineup, you see where Bob Huggins has gone with the basketball. To Andre Tate. Tate last year averaged 11 points, shot 43% from the field, 29% from three-point territory. In trouble there, he kicks it back to Orlando Williams. 20 seconds on the shot clock. Williams forces one, doesn't get it, and the rebound brought down by the Gophers.
Not a good shot that time by Orlando Williams. He was trying to create something because UC's offense just remained stagnant and nobody moved to him.
Well, that coffee can get up there, can he?
Wow. He's got wings, right?
He earned them in the Army Airborne. Shikenjanski charges into Starks, and the foul will be called on Keith for blocking.
It was a good move by Shikenjanski again. He likes to move. He's a very active player, and Keith got caught moving that time. As you see, there's a little head fake. Put the ball on the floor every time. You can catch the defender leaning left or right, and that's what happened to Starks.
Well, both teams trying to substitute a little bit to keep a fresh unit on the floor. Melvin Newbern returns for Minnesota, and Steve Sanders returns for Cincinnati as Williams sits down. Gophers trying to hit their first throw. And Shikenjanski last season for Minnesota was at around 80%, 79 and change. Here's Robinson coming back for the Bearcats, replacing Keith Starks. And Minnesota will rest the old GI, Richard Coffey.
Well, Minnesota continues to substitute players, Red. They're going to use, 10, 11 people tonight, and Coach Haskins said that's what he likes to do. He likes to get enough people in the ball game so that he keeps his first 5 fresh every time they come off the bench.
Minnesota down by 3 now, 24-21. Rob Metcalf, 6'6" junior out of Wisconsin Rapids, Wisconsin, in for Coffey. Chicken-Jansky nails it. He is at his average for last season, 8 points.
He's going to be a good, solid player for Coach Haskins over there this year. He's one of those people I think that'll do well in the Big Ten because he's got a big body and he likes to get in there and bang. And Dick Vitale would love a guy like this because he's not afraid to get in there and throw his body around.
Well, he's one of 4 seniors for the Gophers. Here's Sanders in for Lou Banks. Banks has it stripped by Metcalf, and a foul will be called on Metcalf.
Looked like good defense that time. Lou Banks he gave a little head fake and got ready to put the ball on the floor, and Metcalf reached in and knocked it out of his hand. But Banks, I think, is going to the foul line for a couple of shots. Looked like good defense to me, Red.
Minnesota last season had a pretty good defensive team, as they averaged 76 points a game and gave up 71. And there are a lot of high-scoring teams that Minnesota plays, as hitting that free throw was Banks. He's now 3 for 3 from the line. 25-22 Cincinnati, and Banks has the next one. So Lou Banks has 4 points in this outing as you view the Cincinnati bench, and they've got to be pleased. Cats by 4 as we have a break in the action here in the first half. Welcome back, friends, to the Shoemaker Center on the University of Cincinnati campus, and the Bearcats lead by 4. At the break, in just a few minutes, we'll have an interview with University of Cincinnati basketball coach Bob Huggins. He's a basketball contractor. He's been in rebuilding or reloading jobs before. Did it in Akron. We'll have the first half stats and much more. You're going to look here at the Shoemaker Center. All that coming up at the half. Minnesota has the basketball and Cincinnati the lead, and one of the reasons, Derek, the guys inside are doing a good job.
Well, rebounding really is, in my opinion, the key. I'm one of those bangers myself when I used to try to play, Red, but if you can control the rebounding boards, that's going to keep you in more games than you lose. And right now Cincinnati has an advantage, 15-11 against Minnesota.
And these are 2 good rebounding ball clubs.
Well, the rebounding margin, which is something that a lot of people outside of the game really don't understand. But Minnesota was 10th last year in rebounding margin, which means that they out-rebound their opponent by 5, 6, 7+ rebounds a game, and the Bearcats were 20th.
At the free throw line and shooting a deuce is Walt Bond out of Chicago, stocky youngster, 6'5", 220, and he nails it.
Red, look under the basket this time as Bond is going to take his shot. You're going to see some of the UC student body standing up and cheering. That's something that we didn't see in the past. And believe it or not, you may concentrate on the rim, but that is a distraction, and that's one of the things that's going to help this team.
And that reminds me of Armory, because they had those portable seats on the end on both sides of Armory, and you used to be able to shake, rattle, and roll up there in those bleachers.
Lavertis had his pocket picked that time.
And Coffey with the lay-in. So Minnesota jumps right back in, down by 1 at 26-25.
Good quick hands by Coffey that time. Not only was he able to knock the ball away, but Lavertis held it right out there in front of him. And as an offensive player, you're taught to hold the ball to your side. And it was just an offensive error, and let Minnesota convert that basket.
Melvin Newbern really dogged Andre Tate that time. He didn't want Andre to come down and have the advantage of setting up the offense without any particular defense.
Technical foul on Bob Huggins. He jumped about 6 feet in the air when Brady Hughes went in for that layup. The ball never touched the backboard, and that's what Brady should have done. When you go in for a layup and you got people that can Windex the ball off the board, they can knock it off. You got to put it on the backboard, because once it touches the backboard, it becomes a goaltend if the defender touches it.
Boy, Bob Huggins is hot. Well, they haven't played a half here yet, and he's already gotten a tee.
I tell you what, that may fire this ball club up, because Bob Huggins is going to go down in the record books for getting the first technical in this building. There are going to be a lot of firsts, but you know, he's the first one to get a technical in this building, but he's going to fire up that ball club in one way or another.
He seemed pretty calm before the game. Let's see exactly what Brock, the Ohio native's eye.
As I said, had Brady put the ball off the backboard and the defender touched the ball at that point, it would have been called a goaltend.
Minnesota has its first lead since 14:01 to play in the first half as they take a 1-point advantage, 27-26 on the 2 technical shots made by Kevin Lynch. And Minnesota now goes up by 3 as Walt Bond connects.
Well, they were very patient on offense that time, which is what the Bearcats really need to do a little bit more of. If they're patient in this open post type offense, they're going to get those easy shots. They're going to get layups.
And a whistle and a blocking foul called on Brady Hughes. So Brady, a youngster who played very little last season, just scored 6 points in 11 games, is trying to show the new coach that he can play. Well, and trying a little bit too hard.
A little bit too hard, and I think that's what we're going to see in the Bearcat Ball Club. They have 4 veterans, 4 people who played quite a few minutes. Brady Hughes and Orlando Williams played very limited action last year, as well as, you know, the new faces that we see on the ball club. So as the games progress, we're going to see some inexperienced play out there, and if the Bearcats can overcome that and stay within the, you know, the ball game as far as the score is concerned, they're going to be able to win some of these games, hopefully against a team like Minnesota tonight.
Mario Green, a 6'2" junior out of the Bahamas. Freeport in the Bahamas is at the line. There you see his numbers. He hits the first one and the second. And Minnesota has its longest lead, and they're on an 8-0 run, up 31-26, and Bob Huggins wants to pull in the reins for a moment. And he's going to do a little chewing on the officials.
Bob just took his jacket off and rolling his sleeves up. He's ready to go to work. You know, you can argue with the officials all day and all night, Red, and I think right now what he's trying to do is establish what he wants to do as a coach and maybe get the officials to listen to some of those arguments that he has, but the team out on the floor, they're the ones who have to actually implement his game plan.
Bob Huggins had a great run at Akron as he had 4 straight 20-win seasons. He was twice named Ohio Valley Conference Coach of the Year, 1977 graduate of the University of West Virginia, where he was the team MVP and twice an academic All-American. 97 and 46 in 5 years at Akron. You know, he took over a program that was coming off of probation and had had several losing seasons. He had 1 losing season with the Zips, then put the Zap back in the Zips. They went on to win a couple of OVC tournaments and go to the NCAA. Here's Richard Coffey with a nice breakaway. We've talked about his jumping ability, and he's got springs for legs.
Well, he jumps like Lavertus Robinson. When you get guys that are easy, free jumpers like that, you know, sometimes they'll go in and sail for one of those spectacular plays, and things like that help get a team pumped up. And I think the Bearcats need one of those right now. I think that's why Bob Huggins got the technical foul, but, you know, just get some energy back into this ball club.
Minnesota's got to worry about how it plays away from home. They lost 9 of 12 games away from home last season. And there's a throwaway by Cincinnati on the inbounds pass as Lou Banks anticipated someone going down the floor, and there was nobody home.
Well, turnovers now. Cincinnati's up to 8, Minnesota's at 5, and Minnesota actually has their largest lead at this point. If the Bearcats are patient, Red, that's all they have to do is be a little more patient, you know, let their experienced people handle the ball. I think they're going to be able to stay within this basketball game, but turnovers like that are not going to help in any situation.
This is Walt Bond. Back to Metcalf. Double teamed by the Bearcats, who are working his zone. Here is Green in the lane. He misses, and here comes Cincinnati.
Minnesota's going back to a man-to-man, and if the Bearcats, as I said, if they make 4 to 5 passes, Lavertus has to move the basketball. He can't stand out there with it and try to create some things. The ball has to move in this type of an offense, and if it does, they're going to get easy shots.
Banks on the outside. Minnesota's done a great job on him. He has 4 free throws. They did their homework on Lou Banks.
They sure did.
Robinson on the outside. 10 seconds left on the shot clock. Robinson pumps, going to miss, and it's through the hands of Metcalf, but he keeps it, and Minnesota will run the offense. Boy, after Minnesota went to that 1-2-2 zone, it seems the Cincinnati offense got mired down and hadn't been able to get out of the slump.
They sure did. They sort of fell asleep. Minnesota put that zone in just momentarily, just long enough to change things up and get the tempo back to themselves.
Bond trying for the stick back, has it knocked away by Ward of Cincinnati. A junior college transfer, B.J. Ward, number 40. The Bearcats trail by 5, 31-26. They've led a good portion of this first half, as you see Ward with the knockaway.
That's a nice defense by B.J. Ward, but the Bearcats cannot allow Minnesota to get those second shots. They can't do that.
Bond to Shikenjanski. Here's Mario Green. Green around Tate, now to Bond. He'll try about a 15-footer, going to be short, and Shikenjanski comes in over his own teammate, and Richard Coffey will get the foul.
Tell you what, that's a contest to see Coffey and Laverdis Robinson both going airborne, and that time Laverdis happened to come down with the ball, and Coffey actually clipped him on the side as he was coming down.
Well, what was good for Minnesota there, 3 Golden Gophers crashing the board, but they were called for the foul, and going to the free throw line for Cincinnati will be Robinson, who checks in at 67% last season.
The Bearcats, when Keith Starks is on the floor, are a different ball club because he's able to help control the defensive boards a little bit. But right now, they're a small club. The tallest man on the floor is 6'6", and they're going to rely on Lou Banks and Laverdis Robinson and even Andre Tate to go in and get some of those rebounds. And it's real tough. And if they do maintain control of the ball, they can now go down on a control break and hopefully get some of those transition baskets.
Cincinnati is unofficially 7 for 8 from the line. The Bearcat fivesome now: Banks, Ward, Robinson, Sanders, and Tate. And as Derek pointed out, a pretty small lineup. Laverdis at 6'6", the tallest. BJ and Lou Banks at 6'5".
Well, quickness can really help a particular ball club, and with the style of play that Bob Huggins has, I think, you know, with the offensive strategy that they have as well as the defense, they can stay in a lot of ball games that they normally would not be in.
Willie Burton skies to bring it down for the Golden Gophers out of the Big Ten. Picked to finish 3rd or 4th, but given an outside chance to win that rugged conference this year. Al McGuire yesterday picked the Bearcats to finish 4th in the Metro.
That sounds like a good positive sign, but if they keep up this intensity and enthusiasm, and we get some of the support from the community, get people to come out here and watch this game. I understand we have close to 6,000 season tickets sold right now, but we need to get the student body back here, Red, and if we do, it's just going to help this ball club get better and better, a little more confidence as the year goes on.
The Golden Gophers taking the air out of it here for the final shot with 16 seconds left, and Shikenjanski takes it with 5 on the shot clock and misses badly, and we have a foul called on Willie Burton, and Clem Haskins getting ready to go through the roof.
Well, there was a foul that time, but if we see a replay on this, keep an eye on Laverdis Robinson's feet, Brad, because I think he might have done a little bit of a two-step, 1, 2, 3, before he actually puts the ball on the floor.
Yeah, it looked like a traveling call to me, but apparently the official thought that Willie Burton pulled him across and forced him to travel. Anyway, the officials have both Cincinnati coach Bob Huggins and Minnesota coach Clem Haskins upset.
Well, it's going to happen, Red. You know, you're looking at the first game of the season for both teams, and each coach is trying to establish their philosophies and hopefully get the referees leaning a little bit more toward their ideas. And it's just a matter of politicking who's going to get to the referees first and establish that particular game plan.
Cincinnati has 2 freshman recruits on their team this year, in addition to some walk-ons. Michael Joyner, you might have seen his name on the back of the warm-up there, as a youngster out of Hollywood, Florida, where he averaged 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists. And is a pretty good free throw shooter, 157 straight as a sophomore. And Terrence Gibson, who is a real quick youngster, 6'2" freshman out of Dothan, Alabama, who had 12 triple-doubles last season in his senior year of high school, 15 points, 9 rebounds, and 10 assists, his numbers in high school. So Bob Huggins obviously feeling initially that he needs some guys who can control the basketball. He has Andre Tate as the only experienced guard returning. So he went after some guards when he first took over as Bearcat coach.
There's no question, Red, but because they are freshmen, you know, they don't have any immediate college experience. They're not able to come in with confidence and be able to do some of the heads-up things, the experience things that Andre Tate can do right now. And the Bearcats are a little shallow at their guard position, and that, if anywhere, is where they're going to be hurting this year without that leader.
And it's amazing how experience, even though it's on the gridiron, for Steve Saunders has paid off, and how that youngster has emerged as a bona fide factor in Bob Huggins' plans for this season.
Well, there's no question. When you get a player who plays more than one sport, you're going to find that he may come out with a little more confidence, because as a football player, you know that you can be aggressive, and you know what the guidelines are as far as fouling and not fouling, being aggressive versus being a dirty player. And they have some experience right now in that young guard.
The Bearcats getting a break here as Robinson hits the first and going to miss the second. Lou Banks goes up and gets it in heavy traffic, puts it on the floor, gets it back up, puts it up, doesn't get it. Cincinnati gets it back and puts it in as Lavertus Robinson skies with no time left on the clock, and Cincinnati scores the final 5 of the first half and draws within 1 at 31-30. So a rally by the Bearcats in the final seconds gives Cincinnati just a 1-point deficit to work against in the second period. 31-30, Minnesota through the first 20 minutes. And watch this furious action.
The first mistake Lou Banks makes is putting the ball on the floor, but they were really lucky with Lavertus Robinson getting in there, getting that ball and sticking it right back home.
The hustling Bearcats have pulled within 1 at 31-30. Stay with us. We have a full halftime show coming up next.
6 Bearcats scoring in this first half of the inaugural game here at the Shoemaker, and this has been a wild rock'em sock'em first half. We're happy you're with us, and I know you'll stay right down to the end, because we don't know what's going to happen here as Minnesota plays the Bearcats here at home on the campus of the University of Cincinnati. The leading scorer, 9, Keith Starks, had a very, very great first start, and he held on to do very well. Tate had 7 and 6 for Lavertus Robinson, including a very important bucket there at the end of the game. The Bearcats had 3 different 6-point leads before going into a slump and then coming back at the end of the half. It's now 31-30. Well, there were a lot of things happening this week as we opened this exciting facility on the campus of the University of Cincinnati, including yesterday's clinic, which featured one of the great coaches in the history of basketball. He, of course, is Al McGuire. He, of course, won the NCAA with Marquette, and now he's a noted basketball analyst for network television. He is witty, he's basketball streetwise, he's liked by everybody. In airports, they mob him. It was great to have him come here and help open this building for the University of Cincinnati. And all the people, the kids, the players of both teams, the people from the school here really love to see Coach McGuire. It was great for him to be here in Cincinnati. Incidentally, he did predict that this building will be the beginning of something great and new for Coach Huggins and the Bearcats, and you have to agree with that. Well, early in our broadcast, we talked about this magnificent $32 million Schumacher Center. I know you'd like to know more about it, so let's take a closer look. I imagine many of you are not real sure where the Shoemaker Center is on the campus of the University of Cincinnati, so we thought we'd show you just where it's situated. Lawrence Hall, lower left, you know, of course, where that is. Then the upper right, Nippert Stadium, where the football team, of course, performs, and many great high school games have happened. Then the Armory Fieldhouse, and just to the upper left of it is the brand new $32 million facility named after Merle Shoemaker, the former lieutenant governor, the guy who really took us through step by step to bring us to where we are today. 2 years ago, they started construction, and it was a massive undertaking. Many contractors, step by step, they watched it from the university as each contractor did his thing. Here are the drawings, the architect's renderings of what the Shoemaker Center was going to look like today at the grand opening. And as we watched each of these steps happen, well, it was a great experience, and a warm feeling came over us. Here is the football facility. Brand new, state-of-the-art football locker rooms, coaches' facilities. Each player, of course, has a locker stall, and this is, of course, a spot where any of the great players would love to come. Basketball, brand new facilities for the coaches of both the basketball and the football and the women's basketball group. And of course, there is the basketball locker room facility. But that's not all. The facility includes state-of-the-art training and weight facilities, not just for the athletes, but for all the students here at the University of Cincinnati. A very important facility, a very important key plus for what is happening here on the campus in Clifton. There are racquetball and squash courts, 13 racquetball, 2 squash courts. That triples the previous number available. And of course, there was the artist rendering and now the live shot of the beautiful Schumacher Center here in Clifton. And when they break the building down, they have room here for 13 basketball courts, including right here in the Schumacher and over in Armory on the campus just a couple of feet away. So this, without question, is a new era, a great new beginning for the University of Cincinnati, basketball and all of the varsity and intramural sports. Well, as you watched the first half with the Golden Gophers leading by a point, you probably took note of the activity of Coach Huggins. He started calmly, then the coat went off, then the sleeves went up, then he got a technical. Maybe it inspired the Bearcats to come back and narrow that gap to 1. During a recent practice, I asked the coach for a paragraph on his coaching style.
I think you have to work hard. I think that as long as you're on the floor or as long as you're in a game, that you need to come out and work hard and give it your best effort.
Beyond that, you ever lose control?
I don't know, lose control. There are times I get upset. So many variables that happen in a basketball game, and I just believe that everybody ought to do their best, whether it's the players, whether it's the coaching staff, whether it's officials. I think that's why we're all out there. If you're not going to come out and play as hard as you can and work as hard as you can, you shouldn't be out there.
Given the choice between a player with great Division I talent who maybe doesn't work very hard and a guy with a little less talent but a tremendous work ethic, which would you rather have?
I'd rather have the guy that would work, because I think he's going to get better. If you don't work, you can't get better. And I think sometimes what happens is people who are very gifted sometimes don't work as hard, so consequently don't improve. And what you see happen is the guy who has great work ethic just passes them by.
You've been here now long enough to evaluate the people, the city, this beautiful facility. What do you see in the immediate future for basketball at UC?
We're going to get it turned around and get it going in the very near future. I don't think there's any question about that. I'm pleased with the guys we have in the program. They've worked hard. I think they've come out. They've been good about learning things. They've taken to coaching very well. They've listened. We don't play quite as hard as what I wish we would play to this point in time. We don't play as consistently hard. I think that's the battle, is being consistent. It's easy to come out one time and be all fired up to play a certain team on your schedule and then come out and be very flat the next and just don't play hard with maximum effort. And I guess that remains to be seen. And we've had a couple bad practices, but probably not near as many as what you would think going in.
As you work to bring it back to where it was some years ago, the national championships, the great teams year after year, are you asking for patience?
No. I don't have a whole lot of patience, so I don't know why anyone else should have any. This year's going to be a tough year from this standpoint. We just don't have any depth, and if somebody gets hurt, then, for all practical purposes, it'll be very difficult for us to win. But we got 5 scholarships, and if we can get all these guys back, and with the 5 scholarship people, I don't think there's any reason why we can't win next year.
My brief exposure to Coach Huggins here in the last couple of days and watching him here in this first half, my impression is no dancing, no gold chains, no watches in the coat pocket. This guy's to the point, he's direct, he likes basketball, he'll get it done here, and you're going to like the era under Bob Huggins. We'll come back, we'll have statistics and a discussion with Red and Derek on the first half here at the Schumacher Center on 19XIX. Stay right there. With 2:26 to go, the Golden Gophers had scored 8 straight points and led by 5. Gentlemen, that was the time the Bearcats really sucked it up and got back in this ball game.
indeed did, and they did it with that hustle that Bob Huggins wants them to have throughout the game. And they're back in, down by 1 point. A key that Derek alluded to in our open, rebounding, and that's what's keeping the Cats where they are.
There's no question about it. Right now, the Bearcats are out rebounding the Gophers 21 to 16, and that is what I think is the difference in the ball game as far as the Cats staying in this particular ball game.
Both teams shooting about the same, and as we look at the scoring, nothing really surprising, although Willie Burton is down a bit, but the fact that he's hurt has to affect his performance, and Keith Starks doing a great job for Cincinnati, particularly in the early going.
Well, there's no question. The Bearcats, what they really have to do now, I think, is stay out of foul trouble. If they can just maintain their poise, be a little more patient on offense, it will allow them to stay in the basketball game.
1 point ball game, Tom. We've got a good one for the second half.
Been a tremendous first half. You're right. We can't wait to get the ball in the air. Only 3 Bearcats have 2 fouls. Robinson, Hughes, and Starks. We'll come back for exciting second half action from the Shoemaker. The Bearcats trail by just 1 against Big Ten powerhouse Minnesota. Stay right there.
University of Cincinnati Bearcat basketball is brought to you in part by Kroger, the home of cost-cutter low prices, and by Still Pass. We know you can't beat that. And by Miller High Life. Buy that man a Miller. The best comes shining through.
Back at the Shoemaker Center on the campus of the University of Cincinnati, the Bearcats trail by 1. They haven't lost a home opener since way back in the 1950s when they fell to St. Louis. So Cincinnati trying to keep that home court winning streak alive.
Well, Red, the Bearcats are doing just what I said they needed to do at the top of the show. There's just one area where I think they need to pick up the tempo a little bit, and that is developing their outside game. If they can establish that, not only will they be able to go inside to their stronger players, but also be able to get a couple of stickbacks and get some of those garbage baskets.
Minnesota knows that Cincinnati's not a perimeter team, though. Andre Tate shot 43% from the field and 29% from three-point territory last year. And outside of Andre, there is not an experienced outside shooter on the Bearcat club.
There really isn't. But, you know, from time to time, there is the ability for a player to take a shot, whether he's going to make it or not, because your defensive player, your offensive players are going to be looking for the ball coming off the boards at times, and you may see even a 3-second get called where, you know, a player should take a shot and he doesn't follow through with that.
Cincinnati starts off with Tate Banks, Starks, and Robinson and Saunders. There's Saunders down the right side. Look at that product out of East Cleveland Shaw High School.
That's that football move, Red. He got that inside shoulder and took it to the basket and was able to take that nice little running 5-foot jump shot.
Another lead change, and Cincinnati has the bucket to take the advantage here as we just get underway in the second half. It's 32-31. We've played 35 seconds. Walt Bond down the lane, and he misses, and Starks claims it.
That's the difference we did not see when Starks was on the bench. Someone going to the boards and actually controlling that ball going down there.
Minnesota's doing a great job on Lou Banks. He has only 4 points. Robinson kicks it out to Starks on the right wing as the Bearcats in those new home uniforms. And Starks drives to the block and scores.
Good controlled movement by Keith Starks. As I said, he likes to throw his body around. He went up and actually knifed his way to the basket and took that little one-hand running 2-foot shot.
Starks is the first on either side to reach doubles with 11, and the Cats lead by 3. Lynch misses, and we have a foul underneath against the Bearcats, I believe, on Lou Banks.
All right, you're looking at Starks taking the shot, and he was able to maintain his control and actually come down and sort of knife his way away from the defender and avoid that charging foul.
Well, I tell you what, that guy's come a long way, hasn't he, from the days when he used to rattle the rim with some of those line drive shots as a freshman. Here's Shikanjansky, misses, and we have a foul underneath on Coffey of Minnesota.
Well, what I see right now is the Gophers trying to establish themselves on the offensive boards. Every time the ball goes up, I'm seeing Shikanjansky and Coffey now go inside and crash it.
And look at Minnesota playing a little in-your-face D, too, because they're picking up now long on Cincinnati. And this is what got Minnesota the lead in the first half.
That's right. Minnesota, you know, they've done their homework, and they realize that the Bearcats are not very deep at the guard position. So they're putting pressure on Andre Tate, making him use the basketball and have to bring it all the way up the court and expend some of that energy.
This is Lynch after the takeaway as Minnesota played good D for Clem Haskins that time. And there's a reach around foul on Andre Tate.
You expect a little bit more from a senior. You know, you're gonna create fouls. You don't want to make an unnecessary foul, especially this early in the ball game, because you may want to, you know, you may need that foul as the ball game gets later and have to waste one. But that's not a good one to waste at this particular juncture of the game.
Melvin Newbern off to Walt Bond, who's playing in place of Willie Burton, although Burton has seen action. Coffey, a nice drop for Bond, doesn't get it though, and Levertis is the Windex man for the Bearcats.
Bearcats are getting very lucky, Red.
There's Lou Banks' game right there. And brought it up to half court with the pass to Andre Tate, who found Lou Banks with the open court move.
That's what the Bearcats can take advantage of. Granted, they're not a big team, but they are a good transition team. And if they get the ball up the floor, this is right up Lou Banks' alley. He likes to move down and knife his way to the hoop, and he's strong enough that he can maintain his body control and still be able to put the ball in the basket.
Banks gives Cincinnati a 5-point lead with 17:51 left to play. And Banks, who's 4 for 4 from the line, has it rolling and out for him. There's a throwaway, last touched by Minnesota. Kevin Lynch trying to get it up court in a hurry to Walt Bond, throws it away, and that gives the Bearcat fans something to toast.
It sure does. That's that control break that Minnesota tries to run. You know, turnover-wise, right now the Bearcats are at 9 and Minnesota's at 6, but they want to get the ball up the court and hopefully catch Cincinnati sleeping. But the Bearcats play a good, solid defensive game.
Well, I tell you what, Melvin Newbern has picked it up a notch on Andre Tate. Tate works for the good shot, but doesn't get it to fall. Newbern has it knocked away by Banks, out of bounds to Cincy.
Good defense. Anytime you get a smaller club, they're able to utilize their quickness, which is what Bob Huggins has been coaching. You're going to find turnovers happening the way they have been to Minnesota in the early stages.
Steve Sodner's still wearing that mouth guard that he had in football.
Well, as a football player, you get used to that. You will throw your body around and get that shoulder on people, and that is only going to create a few more opportunities for you.
There's a foul in the lane against Keith Starks of Cincinnati as he was trying to set up camp there on the inside. There you see the youngster out of Taylor, the yellow jacket. That's his third, so Bob Huggins will have to take note of that.
Well, as we've known in the past, Keith is one of those players who will get a few fouls. He cannot afford to reach and get his 4th foul this early in the game. You know, he's now a smart player. He's a veteran. He's going to have to be able to work with a little more control.
We have 17 minutes to go in the ball game, and the Bearcats have a 5-point lead. Problem for Bob Huggins is, though, that he can just about eyeball everybody on the Cincinnati bench. He's 6'3", 6'4", and there isn't much taller than that on the UC Pine. So Starks needs to play. Coffey wheels and deals on the inside, and it's out of bounds, but a foul will be called on Cincinnati underneath.
That was good ball movement that time by the Gophers, but UC did a lot of reaching for the basketball. Instead of putting their body in and trying to grab the ball with 2 hands, they were actually reaching on defense that time. It was good defense because no shot was taken, but at the same time, you have to be able to grab those loose balls and block out.
Tip in right there by Melvin Newbern off the miss by Willie Burton, who came in. Cincinnati had held Minnesota scoreless for over 3 minutes here in the second half. It's a 3-point Cincinnati advantage. Make it 5 again as Andre Tate goes the other way.
That's the kind of experience we need to see from Andre Tate, to take the ball down the floor, and if the shot's there for himself, to take it. If it's not, he needs to be able to actually bring the ball under control and look for the man that's open.
38-33 Cincinnati. Newbern finds Bond, shovel pass in the corner for Burton. Now he'll bring it across the defense for Newbern. Crowd wanted to travel. It looked like Newbern did take steps. There's a knockaway on the inside, and Robinson's going to get his 4th foul.
Brad, that was basic fundamentals that time. All Levertis had to do was put his body on Willie Burton, and that that foul would not have been created.
Speaking of fouls, Notre Dame's getting roughed up down in Miami, Florida, which is not to be unexpected. A hurricane, just that, on the Irish, 24-10 in the 4th with 9 minutes to go. There you see the score. There's a break in the action with 15:58 left. Minnesota's 1-point lead has been wiped out by Cincinnati. The Cats are on an 8-2 run through the first 4:02, and Lou Banks had his first field goal of the game.
You see Lou Banks taking that extra dribble, dipping the shoulder, and actually drawing the foul that time, going to the hoop in that transition style of play, which is what I think the Bearcats will be one of their biggest assets this year, Red.
Next Saturday night, Cincinnati will have Miami here at Shoemaker Center, and the Redskins are running into the General as Bob Knight's troops lead 41-30 at the half. Michigan lost to Arizona, the defending national champions, beaten by 7.
Bearcats have dropped back into a 1-3-1 zone, and they're going to have to force Minnesota to make some of those outside shots, and Lynch just knocked that one down. He's their best three-point shooter.
38-36 Cincinnati. 15.5 to play as Andre Tate takes Newbern low, is cut off on the inside by Burton, finds B.J. Ward, has it rejected, and we have a foul called on Walt Bond.
Good ball movement that time by the Bearcats. What we're going to see is Lynch going up for a three-point shot, one of those shots that he can knock down consistently.
Junior out of Bloomington, Minnesota, Kevin Lynch averaged 10 points a game in the regular season. That guy right there averaged 16 plus in the NCAA tournament, and tonight he has 9.
It really helps, Red, to have experienced players out on the floor during that crunch time.
Ward is going to be too hard with that free throw. B.J. Ward last season averaged 15 points and 11 rebounds at Laramie Community College in Wyoming. But he's glad he's not out there now. Telling you what, it gets a little cold out there in Wyoming.
Just a little cold out there. I've been to Laramie before.
That's a CBA, wasn't it?
No, actually, I visited a friend at the University of Wyoming and got trapped in the snow out there, about 6 feet of snow in about 3 hours.
Ward has 3 points, and Cincinnati's lead is down to 1 at 39-38 as Coffey hits one from the baseline. Coffey with 4 points.
Very good ball movement and patience by Minnesota that time. Just a matter of passing the basketball to the open man for a nice, 6-foot jump shot.
Been a good seesaw basketball game here tonight, friends, as Andre Tate with a little shovel with the left hand.
That open post offense actually creates a situation like this for Andre Tate to be able to take the ball one-on-one. You and I talked about that before the game, and if he's able to knock some of those down, the Bearcats are going to be right there.
And Kevin Lynch has drawn Minnesota even as he has hit a pair of three-pointers here in the second half.
The Bearcats need to maintain their patience, get some ball movement, get people open.
Lou Banks trying to work open court against Walt Bond. This is a good defensive team that Clem Haskins has assembled. Starts, or check that, B.J. Ward.
Good patience. That's exactly what the Cats need. All they need to do, be a little patient on their offense, move the ball to the open man, and they can get wide open shots like that every time.
2-point lead for Cincinnati. Look at that nice shot by our camera crew, doing a great job here, and good sight lines at the Shoemaker Center. You fans who come down here will really enjoy it. A super scoreboard above the court, scoreboards on either end of the floor. Just a great place to watch basketball. Here's Willie Burton.
I can't tell you how much having a really nice facility like this really helps a player as far as his adrenaline and his confidence coming into a ball game, because you know you're going to get the crowd behind you. In a situation like this, Burton goes up for what appeared to be a pass, but he turned it into a shot, and that's experience. That's that experience and the leadership that you need out on the floor.
That's what Andre Tate did the one time down the floor when he too came up and just shoveled it over his head. He knew he couldn't make the shot, but he did draw the foul. Burton hits the throw.
Willie Burton is going to be, I think, an outstanding player. He's looking toward having a good year. He's coming off an injury, as you mentioned, and Clem Haskins said he's going to bring him on slow because he's going to get a lot of national attention, and I think the young man's only going to get better and better as the year goes on.
Smooth and confident player, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
And he's in double figures with 10, and Minnesota has tied at 43, and they apply the heat. Cats break it to B.J. Ward. Back in the middle to Andre Tate. The stop shot won't go. Tapped outside, and Saunders has it for Cincinnati. 4-year letter winner in football. 47 passes he caught for Cincinnati. And Sanders deals off to Andre Tate.
Good patience. They're running a double post right now, which is allowing people to go one-on-one. And that's the man, that's one of the men that you need to have the ball, Lou Banks, and he can knock that shot down.
Banks has hit for 2 fielders here in the second half, has 8 on the evening, and the Cats are up by 2. We have a good one here, don't we?
I think we do, Red. It's just a matter of whether the Cats can be patient get some of those second shots.
And over the back on Walt Bond of Minnesota as he climbed Lou Banks.
If the Bearcats are able to control the rebounding boards, not allow Minnesota to get those second shots. There was a good play. That time Lou Banks got good rebounding position. Basic fundamentals, Red. Just block out and go get the basketball. That'll keep them right there in the game.
You know, you talk about that Washington Bullet Club, and there you saw Clem Haskins. They had another pretty good one who's now a coach. Wes Unseld. That's a pretty smart club they had then, wasn't it?
Pretty smart club. They had a very intense ball club.
Clem Haskins has his master's degree. And so does Bob Huggins. There's a lob lead ahead under the pressure from Minnesota. Cincinnati throws it away.
Well, that's the second time Lou Banks has actually thrown the ball away. He was anticipating his teammate actually moving, and he maintained that stationary position.
They wanted a tie-up right there as Green was just about tied up by Cincinnati on the D. Here is Burton for a trifecta. Going to be short, but Lynch gets in there for the rebound. The turnaround doesn't go. Banks way up to snare it.
Well, the Bearcats have to eliminate that second shot. Right now, Coach Huggins is calling for that double post offense, that stack offense, which is going to open up the middle.
Orlando Williams working against Kevin Lynch as he is giving Tate a breather. Here's Sanders, joined by B.J. Ward, Keith Starks, and Lou Banks. I don't know if Banks has been out tonight.
I don't think he has, Red. He looked like he may be getting a little winded, and you know, hopefully if he's able to maintain his stamina and continue, keep an eye on the shot clock up there, Red. Right now we're at 10 seconds. Someone has to take a shot.
Banks has it knocked away and picked up by Sanders. Off to Lou Banks. He finds Starks underneath. Has it blocked by Willie Burton, and a foul is called on Burton. And I mean to tell you, Keith got away with one that time because he gave him a forearm shiver that make Lawrence Taylor blush.
No question about it. That is the kind of play you really don't like to see on a basketball floor. It was good ball movement. Keith goes up for the stuff, and the ball is blocked. And keep an eye on him. He actually throws a forearm, which in most instances, a player is going to be ejected for a game. It was just a good block. The foul was called. The official was right on top of it. But Keith follows through with a forearm that I do not like to see because players are extremely vulnerable out there.
Well, Keith is a very aggressive basketball player on the floor. Off the floor, entirely different person, though. I mean, you know, a guy that big and strong could pretty much get his way off the floor, too, if he so desired. But that was one he got away with, and I'm sure that Bob Huggins will talk to him about that.
I'm sure he will, and you know, there's no reason for that in a basketball game. Granted, the adrenaline is high, and he's trying to do the best he can for his ball club, but you don't want to see people get hurt out there, and that's the kind of thing that you really don't want to see in college basketball.
He got the roll, Starks did, so he's living on the right side of life right now.
It's that shooter's bounce. We need to get a few more of those. And, you know, again, I'm going to keep talking about this, but I'm going to attribute the home court. This is where the Bearcats practice. This is where they play. And if they know these rims and they know this floor, it's going to help them stay in a lot of basketball games.
Cincinnati's up by 3, 46-43. Green for Lynch. He throws it away to B.J. Ward. The Cats have a 3-on-1. Banks against Lynch, tries to pitch it back and knocked out of bounds by Mario Green of Minnesota.
That's one of those breaks that I think Lou Banks, had he kept the ball, he would have maintained control and been able to take it up strong.
He had the advantage on Green, but he elected to pass it. It was knocked away. Cincinnati will have it when we come back after this timeout. Cincinnati has outscored Minnesota 16-12 in the second half, and it's been run largely due to some pretty good shooting, Derek.
Well, in the first half, Minnesota shot 39% and the Bearcats shot 41%, but so far in the second half, Minnesota can't seem to knock it down. They're only shooting 33%, but the Bearcats are 7 for 9. They're at 78% so far in the second half.
There you see the turnovers. Cincinnati with the 11, the experienced Minnesota Golden Gophers with 8.
Bearcats need to get that turnover ratio down. They need to maintain a little more control of the ball, but that's only due to lack of experience right now.
Sanders in the corner, looks high for Tate Hezim, the Chicago senior. On the left side now for
Andre Tate has to shoot the ball right there, Red. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, I think you're right. He is the Bearcats' legitimate outside threat. There is Starks on the baseline. He misses, gets his own rebound thanks to a tap by Banks and puts it in.
Garbage baskets, garbage baskets. The Bearcats need to continue to work on that. Get your hands on the ball, get that second, third shot, and knock it back home.
Well, Starks has had a good second half with 7. Taken by Green, missed, out of bounds to Minnesota.
That was a good job by Sanders that time, even though he knew he could not get the ball, as opposed to letting the defender, the offensive man, control the rebound. He actually knocked it out of bounds, which allows the Bearcats now to be able to set up.
Walt Bond operating out front for Minnesota coach Clem Haskins. Is in his 4th year. He had 2 losing seasons, inheriting a program that had lost 4 seasons in a row when he got there. He turned them around last year, 19-12 into the final 16. There's a throwaway. Banks now has a run out. Ahead to Tate. Bang!
Transition basketball, Red. If the Bearcats are able to control the ball, move it up the floor, they're going to be able to stay in this basketball game. They got their largest lead right now.
10-15 left, and the Cats lead by 7. Exciting the crowd here in the lid lifter of the Shoemaker Center.
Listen to that home court advantage, Red. It's really going to keep the Cats pumped up.
Minnesota basketball as Cincinnati's defense is fired up, and Clem Haskins trying to say, hey, plenty of time left. Let's play our game. And he's been into a lot of places like this before in the Big Ten.
There's no question about it. You're going to get some of that home cooking at Indiana and Purdue and some of places like that. But the Bearcats, all they need to do is control the boards. You know, rebounding is a big part of this game.
Bob Martin is in the game now to give them some rebounding strength, Minnesota. They have a double post with Shikanjansky and Martin, the 7-footer. And they get it to Melvin Newbern. The turnaround won't go. Way up to get it, B.J. Ward.
If the Bearcats can eliminate that second shot, they're going to be able to stay in this basketball game and hopefully bring it home.
Andre Tate across the timeline as Cincinnati is going to take a little bit of an offensive break here against a 3-2 zone, it looks like, that Minnesota has.
They're just going to utilize the clock. Hopefully they don't get conservative on us, but what they need to do is be a little more patient and try to work for a shot somewhere around 10 to 8 seconds on the clock.
Starks underneath, tied up by Shikanjansky and Lynch, kicks it back to Sanders, will not get it. Ward high for it, but Martin, the 7-footer, has it. Off to Lynch up the side court for Shikanjansky. Now to Bond. He's open for a tray and has it.
Well, that's that good, patient ball movement that Minnesota's been noted for, that controlled fast break. But the Bearcats, if they're able to do that on their end of the floor, they got a good chance of winning this basketball game, Rick.
They're up by 4 with 8.5 to play. Cats trailed at the break by 1. Andre Tate literally sitting down in midcourt, waiting for Minnesota to come out, but also giving the Cats a little bit of a break. This is a little rest period for the Cats on offense, too.
It is a little bit, but in a situation like this, I think the Bearcats, they don't need to get conservative. What they need to do is continue to move the ball. And if they do on a zone, even with this slicing type of an offense they have, it's going to open up shots for them.
Cincinnati leads by 4, and the shot clock says 11. Lou Banks into Starks in the left corner, guarded by Bond. He'll try to feed inside for Banks. He's really tied up, forces the shot, and he is fouled as he drew the foul. Walt Bond, there you see him, is the guilty man for Minnesota, but he wanted to charge off Banks.
Well, I tell you what, there was a little bit of experience that time on Lou Banks' part, because he had nowhere to go as far as getting the ball out of that particular trap. So what he did was went up and forced a shot and was fortunate enough to be able to draw that foul.
And Lou will shoot 2. He's got the first one. Banks is 4 for 5 coming up to that free throw, so he's 5 for 6 tonight.
Concentration, Red. If the Bearcats can knock down their foul shots as the game gets later and later, they're going to win more games than they're going to lose.
Banks, the junior out of Camden, New Jersey, gives Cincinnati a 52-46 advantage with 7:58 left to play. This is the 3rd time Cincinnati has played Minnesota, as Shikanjansky misses, and the rebound brought down by the Bearcats' Ward, and they're really going after it there. It's out of bounds. Last touched by Minnesota. Newbern, who's a pretty good football player in Toledo, mixed it up with B.J. Ward underneath. And I tell you what, the Cats have come to play, and so have the Gophers.
There's no question about it. Watch B.J. Ward's left foot. He actually kicks the ball out of bounds, and that's a little bit of that home court advantage that the Bearcats are going to need this year.
Timeout on the floor. The Cats lead by 6. Cincinnati by 6, 52-46. Here is the run out to Andre.
You're looking at UC coming in a transition basketball game right there, and Andre Tate coming right into your living room is able to stuff it home, and they need to get a few more of those. Get those garbage rebounds, take the ball up the floor, and hopefully either create a foul or put the ball in the hole.
How about the Gophers' inability to control with that big front line?
Well, Minnesota has always been a history of having a big club, but they've not necessarily been a big rebounding club. And right now, their biggest rebounder is a guard, Newbern, with 5, and Cincinnati has Banks and Starks leading the way for them.
Well, there you see it. The Bearcats out-rebounding the taller Minnesota Golden Gophers, but doing it with good quickness. Andre Tate tied up as Minnesota's gone to a trap.
Well, they're going to have to do something in order to create open shots right now and hopefully get into their transition style of play. And they're going to put pressure on UC because they're not very deep in the guard position.
Andre Tate tries to feed into Banks, and the Minnesota trap works for a run out by Newbern. He is hammered underneath by Lou Banks. So Melvin Newbern will go to the line for 2. Banks prevented the easy lay-in by Newbern.
Well, that was another turnover situation. You're looking at Minnesota coming into your living room right now, and it looked like an easy layup, but Banks prevented that. And you know, anytime you go up for a foul situation where a player has the ball going strong to the basket, you really don't want him to raise his arms above his waist to make a three-point play. And right now it's just UC's advantage because Newbern only has a chance to make one of those 2 foul shots.
Cat's done a great job on this guy. You know, he is a good basketball player. Set a Big Ten record with 101 steals last year and averaged 14 points a game. He has only 3 tonight.
Red, we got a final of the football game. Miami beat Notre Dame 27-10.
Big win for the Hurricane. Kind of solidifies Colorado as number 1. Tate calls a timeout as both Bond and Lynch compress him at the 10-second line. So we have a timeout on the floor with 7:05 left. Minnesota's trying to get back a little closer to the Bearcats. It's 52-47 UC. A lot of spirit on the campus of the University of Cincinnati tonight as the Shoemaker Center is inaugurated, and they're trying to get that home court spirit rekindled again and knock out this tough Minnesota team, ranked anywhere from 17th to 27th in the preseason polls. Clem Haskins has a good basketball team that is really working under a bit of handicap. We don't mean just the fact that they had to come in here and christen the new arena, but also because Willie Burton is really not up to snuff. He has only 10 points in this game. It hasn't been a dominating factor.
No, he really hasn't, but you see the potential there, Red, and it's just a matter of time before Burton has a good game. And you know, right now we're looking at Minnesota applying a little bit of pressure with a trap out front, trying to create a few more turnovers. And if Cincinnati is patient with the ball, moves it inside, they can get those stick backs just like that.
Keith Starks has 9 points in the second half. He has 18 on the night. His career high 17 last year against Xavier. Burton on the inside for Newbern, travels, and Cincinnati gets the pumpkin.
That happened to be a very fortunate moment for the Bearcats. They allowed the ball to go inside, which is not what you want to do on a zone defense, but turning into the man, turning into that defensive pressure, their travel was created. 12
turnovers for the Bearcats. That was the 10th for Minnesota. Starks way out on this open post offense that Bob Huggins runs in his first year at Cincinnati. He's won 70% of his games in a career that spans Walsh College in Canton and Akron University.
Brad, believe it or not, this is the kind of offense, kind of defense that creates trapping out front, but it also opens up an opportunity to get layups.
There's one for Minnesota, though.
Well, if you're able to control the boards, if you're able to get a good shot, a lot of ifs come into play here, you can prevent opportunities from happening like that. But if you get caught where you're out of position on the offensive rebounding boards, you're going to miss out on opportunities, and you're going to give away a lot of layups.
Starks misses from the free throw line, and Minnesota clears the board, so the Cats have had 1 and out the last 2 trips down, and that 7-point lead is down to 5, and it's a Minnesota possession. This is Lynch.
I see Minnesota right now, Red, trying to go to Burton because he's their man in this type of a situation.
And Melvin Newbern gets loose on the baseline and draws Minnesota within 3 at 54-51. We have 5:10 left to go, and that half-court trap that Minnesota is applying is beginning to work well for Clem Haskins.
It is definitely going to make a difference because Cincinnati doesn't have that experience at the guard position, and if something happens to Andre Tate, it's really going to put a lot of pressure on UC. But they're going to have to, I think they're going to have to attack this particular type of a defense because you're going to find somebody open. As long as there's a trap coming out, you're looking at a 4-on-3 situation going to the basket.
That's not a bad shot for Lou Banks to take. The tap by Ward doesn't go in, and the foul is going to be called on Minnesota's Newbern, I believe.
Actually on B.J. Ward for going over the back.
Yep, on B.J. Ward. You know, we mentioned earlier that Steve Sanders had that mouth guard or teeth guard, whatever you want to call it. Most of the players now are wearing those these days.
Well, if you're an inside player, if you're a forward or a center, you know you're going to be in there where heads get pushed around and elbows fly and even a shoulder. So you want to try to obviously protect your dentures, but at the same time, that may give you a little more confidence to throw your body in there, and you don't have to worry about losing a front tooth and going back to mom and say, Mom, I've been out playing football.
Burton hammers it off the heel, and Andre Tate gets the rebound. You know, the guy that comes to mind, a post player who looked like that, was Dan Issel.
No question about it. Matter of fact, Dan played without 4 teeth. He actually had a plate that he wore when he wasn't playing basketball.
All righty, Cincinnati leads by 3. We have 4:20 left to go. That trap by Minnesota really causing some problems for the Cincinnati offense, as you see, and Minnesota gets another turnover. Newbern lays it up, misses, and a foul will be called on the Bearcats.
Sanders got caught that time in the transition game, and there's really nothing you can do when a player's coming at you. You know, you don't want to create a foul, but at the same time, you don't want him to make a layup. He got caught still moving at that particular juncture of that that offensive transition.
But it was the decision by Clem Haskins and his staff to go to this trap that really has caused some problems for the Cincinnati O.
Well, you know, you and I both know that a trapping defensive situation is going to force the offense to now make a move. And as I said, if Cincinnati attacked this particular defense, I think they're going to get a few more 8 to 10 foot shots, if not layups, just by taking the ball to the hole.
Melvin Newbern has helped the Cincinnati cause by going 2 for 6 from the line, and again Minnesota applying the pressure. A 2-point lead for the Bearcats. The Cats work this one across, but it's knocked away by Minnesota. Sanders retrieves underneath for Lou Banks. Nice assist by Andre Tate.
It sure was, and that's what I meant, Red. As long as they continue to move the ball and attack the basket, they're going to be able to get layups like that all day and all night, but you have to attack it. You can't try to pass the ball over people. It doesn't work that way.
And they get it inside to Newbern again, who is posting up against Keith Starks down low.
Good patient ball movement by Minnesota. As a defender, you really hate to see the ball come inside because it's only going to cause your big people to get in foul trouble.
56-54 Cincinnati. We have 3:22 remaining. Been tight all the way, Derek.
It sure has. That's the shot I think that Andre Tate is going to have to look for. Right now, you know, the Cats need to move the ball.
Nearly another takeaway as Lynch and Tate collide right in front of the media table. I mean, they butted heads right there.
They sure did. Starks was a little lackadaisical in that pass back out to Tate, but you know, again, if you attack this type of a defense, you're just going to force that defensive team to now reach. And Andre Tate was fortunate that time to be able to get his hands on the ball and gain control. I think the Cats need to go to the hoop a little bit more.
Tate will go to the line right now for the 1-and-1. It's Tate, Robinson, Sanders, Starks, and Banks. And Andre hits a most important free throw. He's 2 for 3 from the line tonight.
Free throw percentage, Red. We talked about it in the first half, and if the Cats are able to knock down some of these foul shots as we get down to this crunch time, the last 2 minutes, like I said, they're going to win more ball games than they lose.
Andre Tate has 8 points in the second half, and Cincinnati's lead is 4. We have 3:08 to play. They're rumbling here at the Shoemaker Center. Willie Burton, nice hook pass to Bond, and he rams it home.
Good patient ball movement by Minnesota that time. Burton went up in the air and caught one of his players slicing to the hole, which is what you need to do, and that was the ideal example of what I think the Bearcats should do. Attack that zone.
Cincinnati would have had the advantage. Melvin Newbern knew it, as Minnesota had 3 players out near the timeline as Newbern went for that steal, so he just grabbed a hold of Andre, and with 2:39 left, Tate, who just sank 2, goes back.
Well, if he concentrates, knocks these foul shots down, the Bearcats will be up with a little more momentum. But, you know, just like you said, they had 3 people above the foul line, and Andre Tate, all he has to do is take it to the hoop, and they're either going to draw the foul or they're going to knock down the basket.
And the game is going to the line right now. You know Minnesota's going to put Cincinnati there to prove that they should have the medal to win it. And Andre Tate right now mustering up that ability as he has hit 3 straight free throws, and the Cat lead is 3.
Again, that's that home court advantage, Red. The familiarity with the facility, with the rims and the background. And if you can knock down those foul shots at home, it's going to definitely be to your advantage.
Andre Tate having a big night, 17 points. And Cincinnati's having a big night thus far, 60-56, and Clem Haskins wants to talk it over.
Bearcats, I think, have a little bit of momentum, Red, but I think defensively is where they need to pick up the tempo. I've been watching the last couple of times down. Keith Starks is playing on the block down below in that 3-2 zone that the Bearcats are running, but he needs to step up, maybe a half step, and cut off that slice by the offensive man going in, and Minnesota won't be able to get those 5- and 6-foot shots.
Both teams playing good defense, and let's watch now as Minnesota works against the Cincinnati defense, and the play you had just described, Walt Bond knifes in and gets the 2 points. The point I'm trying to make, though, is both these coaches have been shuffling back and forth, playing a chess game defensively, and going back to the bench and trying to figure out the offense. And it's been a game of momentum swings. Both sides have had leads. Minnesota had the 1-point halftime advantage, but hey, you couldn't ask for a better game to let this baby get off to a good start here at the Shoemaker Center.
There's no question about it. There's 2 things that I've been looking for. Minnesota's come in with national ranking. You know, that's always an intimidating factor, but at the same time, the Bearcats are coming to a new facility where the adrenaline is high. They got new people, they got a new coach, and they're going to come out and try to do the best they can. So both teams, as we talked about, are trying to put on their best face, and they both need to win this game. But I think the Cats want to win it a little more than the Gophers right now.
Well, Cincinnati has a 4-point lead, and we have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to play. Melvin Newbern on the outside. Kicks it off to Lynch. Good outside shooter. Now to Newbern. Shot fake. Lynch down low. Good ball movement by Minnesota.
Red, that's exactly what I was talking about. Keith Starks was a half a step behind the offensive man that time, and had he moved up into a more positive position, he would have been able to cut that off. Therefore, the ball would not go inside. Good ball movement by Minnesota.
The Gophers down by 2, applying the heat. Tate works hard underneath, has it knocked away as he tries to get it to Starks. He throws up a hope shot, and it doesn't go, and Cincinnati now will work the D. Up by 2. We're inside a deuce to play at 1:48.
Bearcats still in that 1-2-2. It looks like a 2-3 zone, but they need to cut off the pass into the middle. That slicing man is really going to cause some problems for the Bearcats.
And there's a blocking foul called on Andre Tate as Kevin Lynch tried to work outside the 3-point line.
A good idea, but Andre needed to establish his position maybe a half second before that, or half step before that.
Junior Graves, a red shirt freshman out of Seneca High School in Louisville, in the game now. He'll give Minnesota a lift defensively. Lynch at the line. He's a good free throw shooter. He has 14 points tonight. Shot 75% of his throws last year and buries that one.
Well, Lynch is their leader as far as the three-point shots are concerned, and as far as their free throw leader. But I'm looking for Willie Burton now to come back in the game. They took him out for a brief rest, but he's the man I think they're going to go to down in this last minute and a half of this ball game.
We're back where it all began. 96 seconds left, and it's tied. Home run ball. Sanders. He has Starks. He feeds him, but Keith loses it out of bounds, knocked away by Minnesota's Coffey, who got back on D.
Not a bad idea, Red. It was a good pass that time. They both looked eye to eye, made contact in a nice baseball pass. But you need to convert those type of baskets. You don't get those opportunities very often.
Boy, Minnesota is tough on the inbound defense, aren't they? Boy, I need to tell you, they really are tough. Cincinnati's had more trouble getting the ball inbounds than I've seen in a long time against this Minnesota ball club.
Well, it's good active defense, Red. Minnesota has been trained to go after the basketball as well as go after the man.
There's Tate really taking it away from Minnesota that time. Lynch looked like he had the interception.
He definitely had his hand on the ball. Not really a good foul that time by Newburn, even though he did stop the clock, because Andre Tate has knocked down his last 4 straight foul shots. But you know, you want to try to stay in the ball game and hopefully use the clock as your adversary. And right now, if Andre Tate knocks these free throws down, the Cats are going to be back in the lead again.
1:22 remaining for that man to come away with his first victory as UC's coach. Andre Tate has hit 4 straight throws here in the second half, make it 5. Boy, he's in a nice rhythm. He's the guy you want up there now.
There's no question about it. You know, you want to see each player walk up to the foul line with confidence, and you know, you couldn't ask for any more from a senior right now out on the floor.
61-60 Cincinnati, and the next one's there too. I mean, he didn't touch an iron. Cats by 2 with 1:20 left.
The Cats need a good, solid defensive effort this time, Red.
Melvin Newburn. Here's Lynch. They have so many guys to go to who have experience in this situation. They don't have to just look for 1 or 2 guys. Nice move by Newburn. Doesn't get it. The tap, though, is good. The crowd wanted goaltending.
Well, you can't allow the penetration first of all, and you got to play fundamental basketball, block out, and go get the basketball.
Well, 55.2 seconds remaining, and as soon as I said it, it's less than that. Of course, they do have the 1/10 of a second here on the scoreboard clock. We're even at 62 with 45 left. Starks needs help. Banks along the baseline. He's clipped, though, by Wolf Bond.
Crunch time, Red. Crunch time. You got to be able to create situations, and as I said, if you attack the basket, you're either going to draw the foul or you're going to knock the basket down.
Lou Banks will be going to the free throw line, where tonight he has hit on 6 of 7. He shot 70% last year. Al Brown, the man to the left there, talking to Clem Haskins, for many years the head coach at Ball State, so a pretty good brain trust on the Minnesota bench as Banks gets the nice roll.
Well, that's a shooter's bounce. You shoot the ball with nice soft rotation, little backspin on it, hit the front of the rim. It's going to kiss off there and hopefully drop in for you. Being at home is really going to help the Cats this year.
Lou wants that ball, doesn't he? 7 for 8 from the line. 63-62 Cats, and Banks that time a little short. Ball up, and Burton has it with 36 seconds left. Oh, here we go.
We got a ball game, Red. We got a ball game.
Minnesota can take the last shot, and they'll talk it over. The Golden Gophers have the basketball with 30 seconds left to go, and Cincinnati leads 63-62. Lou Banks had so much confidence on that second shot that he might have just not concentrated as much as he did on the initial one. 2 timeouts remaining for Minnesota, Derek, 1 for Cincinnati, and if you're the Gophers, just as they did the last time down the floor, they have so many weapons to go to.
Oh, there's no question. It's seniors. They have experience, Red, and they know that if they're patient, attack the basket, they're either going to draw the foul or they're going to be able to get a second shot opportunity. Now, Cincinnati, what I think they need to do in this particular defensive situation is be patient, stay in their set defense, but don't let Minnesota slice. Don't let them inside, make that easy pass, and block out. Play good fundamental basketball, block out, and go get the basketball and just take possession of it.
And Bob Huggins hoping his ball club can hold on defensively here. Look at the Minnesota game plan. Looks like the same basic offense. They're just going to work it and work it and work it. If they get the shot at 15 seconds, they'll probably take it.
I think they will. If you get an open shot, it doesn't matter what time of the game it is, because what you want to do, obviously you want to get the last shot and hopefully knock it down, but you want to take a shot, I think, within 8 to 10 seconds of the end of the shot clock, or in this case, the end of the game, and hopefully be able to get your hand on it and get a second opportunity.
Cats with hopes of getting some national pub if they can upset a team ranked in the top 20. Walter Bond will inbound. Cincinnati leads by 1 with 30 seconds left. And we have a foul called on Lou Banks on the inbounds pass.
Well, in the new rule, Red, the ball was not actually in play. It should have been 2 shots as opposed to the 1 and 1, because the ball was not actually on the playing court.
That new rule designed in part to eliminate some of the extra pushing and shoving going on in games. Willie Burton is not the guy you want to foul anyway.
No question about it. He is their money man. And if he's able to knock these foul shots down, it's going to put the Cats, I think, in a good position. As you can see, the clock did not move. So therefore, it should have been a 2-shot opportunity.
He's got it. Willie Burton, a senior out of Detroit. He's in doubles now. Burton is. Youngster last season averaged 18+. Was bothered by a bad ankle in preseason, so he did not start tonight. And Minnesota leads its first lead in the second half. You may recall they led at the break by 1, but Cincinnati's dominated the second half, and Andre Tate will call a timeout, and we go back to mapping strategy, except the coaches have reversed their roles. That man Bob Huggins now has to work out the offense, and Clem Haskins will work on D.
Well, Red, I got a feeling that Clem is going to continue to work that trap, and if the Cats are a little patient, move the ball 1 extra pass, they're going to be able to take the ball to the hole, and I would actually try to attack it right away. You know, there's no reason to wait. Go ahead, if you get the opportunity, take the layup, or hopefully be able to draw that foul.
Cincinnati trails by 1, 64-63. The Bearcats have some good weapons on the inside that have obviously concerned Clem Haskins. Keith Starks had a big game. Lavertis has not scored in the second half, but he's always a guy you can go to. And of course, Lou Banks and Andre Tate.
Well, there's no question about it. I think the Bearcats are going to need to actually attack, as I said, the basket, but they're going to need to put the ball on the boards and send these people to the offensive board and hopefully be able to get that second, maybe third shot and knock it down. They have nothing to lose. They have no timeouts remaining. Minnesota has 2, but they need to now go to the hole, because Minnesota, I think, is going to continue to do the same thing that got them to this point by trapping out front, putting pressure on the guards, and maybe get that turnover.
Reminds you of Old Armory, doesn't it?
It really does.
It's a cooker.
It really does, with a few more people in here. And again, I'm going to say it. We need the support from the community. We need people to come out and help the Bearcats win a few extra games by feeling that emotional support by the fans here of Cincinnati.
Both clubs have their game plan. We're ready to go. 1-point Minnesota lead with 22 seconds remaining.
Red, I'm really surprised. Minnesota's in a man-to-man. We're looking at 17 seconds to go.
Sanders, Starks out high. Good defense by Minnesota. The cutter, and it's taken away from Tate by Kevin Lynch, and Tate will foul him in front of the Minnesota bench. No, he throws the basketball away. There is no foul called. Lynch threw the ball away. Is there any time left?
0.8 of a second. There's a chance to get the ball in one quick shot, Red. That's about it.
Minnesota will take a timeout. What happened there? I'd like to see that again.
Well,
Kevin Lynch, I think, thought he was fouled.
He thought he was fouled. He also looked like he may have been out of bounds, and he tried to throw the ball off of one of UC's players' legs. It didn't happen. But in my opinion, Keith Stark should not have been UC's man handling the ball at the top of the key. That's not one of the people you want there. He almost got a 5-second violation called against him, but I think had they had Andre Tate or maybe Lou Banks up there with the ball, they could have been able to work for what I would have considered a good shot opportunity. Therefore, they created the turnover, and Lynch goes down, and he turns the ball back over.
Well, maybe Lynch had the presence of mind to look at, somehow know what time was left on the clock and tried to just throw the ball away. I don't know, but he obviously got rid of the basketball at a time that gave Cincinnati at least hope of getting the shot on. I mean, they're going to have to get the catch and shoot immediately because the buzzer's going to sound. And here's the advantage of that. You know, the guy who really fashioned that was McGuire.
That's right.
McGuire, you say, oh, well, there may be 0.8 of a second left or 0.4 of a second left. Well, there are 0.8 left. You can see it on the scoreboard clock, friends. And Cincinnati has the basketball. This is the first time I've ever called a game with less than a second left where a team had a chance to pull it out.
Under normal circumstances, Red, without having this NBA-style clock, we would only see 1 second on the clock, and you don't know if there is 0.3, 0.2, or in this case, 0.8 of a second left. So it is going to give the Bearcats an opportunity to touch the ball in bounds and maybe draw a foul or hopefully get up a quick shot. You see a 7-footer guarding the ball out of bounds.
And Andre Tate will try to get it in. He does, and it's to Sanders. He hits it. Steve Sanders hits the shot at the buzzer, and Bob Huggins has won the basketball game for the Cincinnati Bearcats in one of the more miraculous games Cincinnati's ever played. A walk-on footballer wins it for the new coach in the new arena.
What an exciting way to finish a basketball game and open the season for the UC Bearcats. Let's look forward to more of this as the season goes on.
Cincinnati with a rousing victory over Minnesota, 66-64 on a great basketball game. A three-point shot by Steve Sanders, a senior, a guy who played 4 years as a footballer, and the Bearcats win their 33rd straight opener. Stay with us. We'll be back with the victorious head coach, Bob Huggins.
A thrilling, can you believe it, 2-point come-from-behind victory for the Bearcats as Andre Tate inbounds the basketball with 0.8 of a second to go, hits the football player in the corner. He fires it up. 3-point range, nothing but net, partner, and the Bearcats win 66-64. If you had a script, this is the way you'd write it. Let's go courtside and talk with a coach who's more happy than you can imagine. Take it away.
Thank you, Tom, and welcome courtside to victorious coach Bob Huggins. And coach, if you could have scripted it, it wouldn't have been a better ending. Congratulations.
I'm just happy we won. I would have been just as happy to win by 40. I'll be honest with you. I just want to win. And I tell you, our kids did a great job. They hung in there and they had a couple chances. We got Levertus in foul trouble and played a good portion of the game without him. And I'm really proud of the way our guys hung in the basketball game.
And Minnesota plays such great out-of-bounds defense. It's hard to even get the ball in. What was your plan on that last shot?
Well, we really wanted to throw the ball at the basket, but you know, I thought if they jammed everything inside that may open up something coming down in the corner, and it opened things up for Steve. They just tried to jam us so we couldn't throw the ball at the basket. We're going to try to throw it at the basket for Levertus or maybe Keith to keep the thing alive and tip it in, and Steve really was the last option coming off of there. But you know, that's his shot. He's going the way he likes to shoot it, and I'm just happy as heck it went in.
What a great victory. Here you are opening a new arena. It's the new beginning for you as the head basketball coach, and to tip it off this way, is, you know, I don't know if it's sunk in yet, but it's just got to be an emotionally satisfying victory.
Well, we did some dumb things down the stretch and really let them get back in a basketball game, but I think those are things that we can correct as long as our guys continue to play us hard and give the kind of effort that they gave. And you know, I tell you what's important. What's important is now we get ready to go win the next game. You know, it's great to win basketball games, but we got 30 regular season games, and certainly, you know, this hopefully down the road would go a ways to getting us in a tournament if we take care of business along the way. And you know, this one's over. We're gonna be happy as heck and celebrate this one for a while, and then get ready for the next one.
Congratulations, coach. Big win for you.
Thank you very much.
Bob Huggins, the head coach of the University of Cincinnati. Back to you, Tom.
All right, Red, what a fine finish for a great basketball game. Andre Tate had the big final assist. He led the Bearcats with 19 points. A 2-point victory. We'll come up and wrap it up right here at the Schumacher Center in just a minute on 19XIX. Woo!